One of the main things that we wanted to do from the very beginning of the project was bring the streetscape, bring the outside down into the space because it's subterranean. Give the sky back to New Yorkers was our thesis for the project. Our client is Dermot Properties. They're a developer. They reached out to us to design an interior space for a residential building. We took it into developing what can you offer for residential amenities to up the game to really make rental properties in New York a meaningful place to live and create a community. My name is Greg Merkel. I'm one of the creative directors here at ICRAVE.
People always ask me what ICRAVE is. It's a creative studio where we look at design, strategy, and experience. And we look across digital and physical to understand the world we live in today, because what our fascination is about the collision of those two things in today's world.
The sculpture at 21 West End Avenue will be ICRAVE's first quote-unquote sculpture project.
This project really started with a simple idea. We had a big element that we wanted to put into the center of the space that allowed people to sort of understand that something was happening downstairs, and at the same time create some kind of drama and really create something that's interactive. The gesture of the curve is like literally sending it down like a bolt. Fundamentally, this is our opportunity to put our hands around it as a studio and make an expression a little bit about who we are, what we think about, and do it all in one art piece.
The materiality of the actual sculpture, I think, proved to be a little more tricky.
That's where the beginning of this 70 iteration process began of trying to design this interactive sculpture.
Well, what is this thing? What is the fabric of this thing? How is it going to work? How's it going to perform? And we got into these cycles where, my team was like, we can't do it. And I'm like, it can be done. Keep looking, keep looking. And ironically, during a design event, one of my designers went to a cocktail party and came back from the cocktail party with this book from this fabricator who does very unique fabrications around the world. And that was a kind of like a serendipitous meeting of us with UAP who could build this thing.
ICRAVE came to UAP with this beautiful image of this very creative sculpture. My initial gut reaction was, wow, I've never seen this before. We are very experienced with physical sculptures of all kinds, but there's many moving parts in this particular project with the piece itself, which is sort of an engineering feat, which was one of my initial concerns, but also it was covering so many parts, moving images, light, structural integrity, the materials itself. There was a lot going on here. It's the combination of many knowledge points that UAP has experience with and almost bringing them all together in one unique project. We were able to work with their creative team in finding the materials and the engineering solutions to sort of bring it all together.
So we wanted the sculpture to be something interactive and changing, so have a temporality to it so that during just the time period of a day or an hour, a week or a month, or even the year, the sculpture itself would change.
We started off first by experimenting with materials that reflect light, that capture light, display light, multiple prototypes. We ended up with a polyresin material that reflected light in a beautiful way.
That's an invention in itself. And these pieces come together to create almost like a chainmail textile and allows for projection on both sides.
After that, we had to make it bend across the surface by cutting it into custom designed modules that reflect the architecture of the space and that were stitched together in the right scale and size that allowed this ribbon to kind of span from the basement of the space up through the lobby and around the stair.
And so the projection became like a central kind of focal point, right? And that started pushing a lot of different technical problems with the project. And so we ended up working with Don the Man. The programming and the experience of the thing is so important to us. And that's something that we're still working on, right? We're like, okay, well, how robust can that be, right? How community building can we do?
Definitely impressed by the way the artists were able to align the projection to perfectly sit within the two rails. It looks as if the screen itself is almost an LED screen where the light is coming from the screen, not from the projector, which is a huge success.
I think it was a very romantic idea. So the idea you could come down in the morning, drink your coffee while sun's rising inside the space. And then at night, you can check out the stars and have a glass of wine, as well as swim in the pool and watch the time-lapse skies pass by.
All said and done, each rail is approximately 75 feet long 600 square feet of projection fabric, and sculpture in its entirety weighs about 2.5 tons.
From conception, when we were contacted by the client, to finalize completion and opening was over 5 years.
The sculpture in 21 West End is an important piece of the creative soul of this company. With respect to the technology and the sculpture, this sculpture for me was always an interactive piece of art. You can move around it. You could be above it, in it, below it. It allowed us to focus on something really specific and love it and give it the kind of love and care that it needs to be this beautiful object that everybody can experience. And in doing so, understand how we think about design, how we think about space, how we think about experience, all wrapped up in this one beautiful object.